Hello and welcome to the Stories with Sash podcast, the podcast in which we try and solve many problems, sometimes motoring related, sometimes not. Now, it's been a while. It's been rusty. If you're listening to this, hello, welcome back. This is the first podcast of 2021. It's been about 3 months, and I can honestly tell you that we've had many messages and many requests from people saying, where's the podcast? When's it coming back? And
we have?
No, we haven't. No, nobody's asked, really, if I'm brutally honest with you. But I thought it was a nice opportunity for us to catch up. And for those of you listening, I'm joined, of course, by Mike and Rob. Hello, chaps. We've got lots to talk about. Again, thank you for coming on the call. It's been probably the best part of nearly 3 months. I think the last time we spoke as a trio was just before Christmas, which is scary to think of it. So anyway, chaps, hello, welcome. How are we? Actually, before we introduce ourselves, obviously, if you're listening to this via Spotify or another medium, you can't obviously see us. But I can see, well, both Mike and Rob. But Mike, you look like... I don't know what you look like. What is it you describe Mike as, Rob? I can't remember.
70s footballer.
70s footballer. Yeah, he got a bit of a vibe. Looks good, though.
Thanks, Sash. That means a lot.
Yeah, that's all right. So anyway, Mike, well, apart from growing your hair, how's it going? What's happening?
A whole lot or not much. I mean, in the past 3 months since we last spoke, I can pretty much tell you exactly what's happened.
Really?
Literally nothing.
Nah. Look, and this is probably one of the reasons why we haven't really bothered to record anything in the meantime, because little has gone on, I admit. But there's got to be some things. I mean, come on. We'll get onto that maybe in a little bit. But literally zero, you're saying?
Pretty much, mate. I mean, I'm in limbo at the minute. I'm waiting to obviously move house, which until I move house, I can't do anything with my cars, as I'm just basically looking at cars come up online, seeing them there for a few weeks, and then they disappear. And then the cycle repeats until I can actually get the house and figure out which car I'm buying. So until that point, I'm just staring at things longingly without being able to buy them.
Right. That is quite...
Like when I used to be on Tinder.
Well, yeah, I suppose that's one way of describing it. Okay, well, I mean, we'll get on to that. But what about you, Rob? Come on, you've got some exciting news, surely. Don't tell me nothing.
Well, I've moved house.
As have I, actually. But yes.
Yeah. So that's now. Well, I've physically moved and I've actually bought furniture, but there's still sort of stuff to unpack and bits and bobs to sort out. But yeah, I've actually moved house, so that's good. I now have underground parking, which is good fun. On a motoring related note.
Yes. And we were just discussing before we came, I was going to say came on air, we're not on television, but came on recording, that you know, there is a lot of delivery culture out in the in where you live, because now you've located to, just clarify for the viewers, Dubai, is it?
Now I'm living in Dubai. Yeah, so I was just saying how I get like all my meals made and delivered to Sash before we start recording, just because it's a bit of it's supposed to be like a diet thing.
What's your fortune?
We were just discussing this.
And you might could make comment on how much this costs.
Do you know how much it works out per meal, Mike? I've just literally calculated it.
How much?
If I told you breakfast, lunch and dinner cost you per meal £5.55.
Oh, mate, you can literally go to McDonald's for cheaper than that.
Well, see,
every meal a day.
I was going to McDonald's because I can get McDonald's delivered to the house, and that's obviously not good for my waistline, or anything.
So do you go out at all? Because basically it sounds like you get everything delivered. Your food delivered, your fuel is even delivered, which I know we spoke about in the previous podcast. So what is there to go outside for?
You can't get your alcohol delivered. No, you can get your alcohol delivered. You can't get the pub delivered. You have to
Right.
go to the pub.
And are the pubs open in Dubai at the
yeah.
moment?
Yeah, pubs are open.
Are the influencers there?
I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to comment on whether or not the influencers were at large in Dubai or not, because I know that they obviously survive on taking their clothes off and then posting pictures on the internet. So yeah, that's clearly an industry that I need to get into. Hence the meal plans.
Oh, it all makes sense now. Right.
He moved to Dubai, got himself on a snazzy diet. He's trying to be an influencer. That's you.
Yeah. By the end of the summer, mate, he's going to be shredded.
I'm going to go and get lip fillers.
Yeah.
Job.
You're going to be posting in a bikini. I don't want to imagine that actually.
Yeah, I think if I was in a Borat bikini on the beach in Dubai, I'd probably get sent to prison.
So it sounds like over there things are fairly relatively chilled with the whole COVID thing. I don't want to talk about COVID, but it's inevitable at the moment. But
yeah, I mean, I'll give you a quick update. So they've obviously gone ham on the vaccine stuff. So I think they're at like 65% vaccination rate for the whole country now. So that's yeah, good depending on your perspective. And yeah, and then so it's fairly chilled. But yeah, so you can still go to the pub, you can still go out to restaurants. There are limits on how many people you can have at a table. Obviously, it's not completely back to normal. But yeah, it's probably more relaxed than where you guys are.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, Mike will vouch for this as well. I think since we last spoke, we've pretty much been in a lockdown for the entire time.
Yeah, that's exactly why we've done absolutely nothing.
I remember actually, that's not strictly true, but since I've moved to this house, the first day I moved was basically the last day before lockdown, like proper lockdown. Well, sorry, that's not strictly true. We went into a tier 4, which was basically a lockdown, and then we had the lockdown when the British government decided that we'll send kids back to school for the first day of the new year, and then we'll change our mind and think, no, that's actually a bad idea, and yeah, kids can all stay at home. But they are back now, to be fair to them. So yeah, not a lot has happened in that respect actually. But I thought maybe, because I did actually go back and quickly listen to our last podcast to see what did we actually speak about. So we don't, and we were quite ambitious because I think we spoke about plans for 2021, what we were planning on doing, and we've got basically a quarter of the year through, and myself and Mike have basically done the square root of Jack. Although
all the way through.
Well, nearly, not quite, a couple of weeks, but you know, essentially. Yeah, just come into the shot. But yeah, I thought we'd just talk about exactly, although we may have not done much, what do we intend of doing when Boris allows us outside, which is in less than 2 weeks, apparently, he might allow us outside.
So should we have a quick update on what we said?
Yes. So do you want to give your individual updates? Do you remember your individual updates?
No, that's what I'm asking for. Can you remind me of what I said?
Okay, so first...
we're buying Mike a Cinquecento because we're now 1/4 of the way through the year and he still hasn't bought his. Well, what is it you're getting?
I've actually set a calendar reminder for the first of every month this year to remind Mike that he's got 1 month less in the year. And I've done that deliberately so I can just, traumatize.
You know, earlier when I said that I was just looking at cars coming up for sale and then going off again.
Yeah.
It's an 8 Series. I'm just staring at 8 Series going up and down, up and down.
This is actually a bit of a development since we last spoke because you said, and we have agreed on this, you said you were thinking an Audi S4 or a BMW E46 M3 of a similar period. Yeah. Initially, the 8 Series, I know you always liked 8 Series, but it wasn't really part of the question. But we said 8 Series is fine as well. I think Rob will have no problem with an 8 Series. You may not like them, but I actually quite like them.
In terms of the bet, I mean,
you've already said it's okay. You've already immediately after. So the reason this happened for the listeners is after we had that initial previous podcast and I said I was going to get an M3 or an S4 this year, afterwards I realised that I'd actually been staring at 8 Series for a while, and they're pretty much in the same price bracket as an E46 M3. And I was like, well, what do I really want here? An E46 M3 or an 8 Series? So
Oh no, the A series are alright. I was thinking of something. I was thinking of that. I was thinking of that one that's like a, I don't know what it is. It's supposed to be like some kind of sporty 4x4 slash saloon thing. It was terrible.
You think that Mike would want to buy a sporty 4x4 modern vehicle?
Well, he's moving to the countryside, isn't he?
I was going to say, can I just bring something up on that point?
Go on.
Part of my actual, what I'm genuinely going to buy this year, because it's significantly cheaper than 8 Series, and because I'm moving, I'm not buying that. I'm getting given it.
He's already come to grips with it. Yeah, go on, Mike.
But yeah, because I'm moving out to the countryside. Me and my partner have been having a chat, and she's already given it the okay. She's actually pretty on board with the idea. I think I'm going to get a pickup truck.
Oh god!
This explains the hair. He's going to have a pickup truck. He's going to wear a straw hat.
If there's any one of us three that would suit a pickup truck, it'd be Mike.
Why doesn't he change his name to Cletus?
The practicality of the pickup truck are like unrivaled. Like, can I just say like that? That all the things about SUVs and all the rest of it, pickup truck is that's the real one.
So the question is, what sort of pickup truck? Is there anything in particular, or just an pickup truck?
Well, it was a Hilux until I looked up the prices of Hiluxes. And now it's not a Hilux.
Mike, I'm spotting a repetition here. I'm spotting a repetition.
Yeah, I mean, it's rapidly gone down to sort of, the Isuzu range, Ford Rangers, anything I can get my hands on, really.
Okay.
This won't, I'm going to say, this will not be like a good car. This will be like a £1,000 piece of crap that probably won't pass its next MOT.
Oh, right. Mike's new trips to the garden centre now that he lives in the countryside.
It's pretty much that, yeah.
And he's going to have a garden.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Hang on, is your new house also a renovation project?
No, for once it isn't.
Oh yeah, actually, can I just confirm? Is this the same house with the? Does it have the double garage or is it a single? I can't remember. It's the double that's only got a single door, isn't it?
Yeah.
That it goes around the corner.
Yeah, you could maybe fit 2 cars in, but realistically, it's 1 car in a workshop.
Which is what you want, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I have no need for 2 cars to stick in there. Oh, that's a lie. But
everyone has the need, but in practical terms, a double garage is what I'd envisage it for. Is one half as a tool bit workshop, and then the other half is where you store your pride possession.
Is pride possession?
Prize, sorry, not pride. I meant. Well, I said that.
Possessions for pride.
Pride. So you're going to buy a pickup truck. Is that going to be in replacement for your partner's car, the Hyundai, or is that in an addition?
That's an addition.
It's an addition, right.
So you're going to have 4 cars, 3 of which are going to be yours?
Maybe.
Oh, yeah, because he's still got the 3 Series.
Well, this is the thing. I'm really, I've got real internal struggles about what to do with that 330 Ci. I can't bring myself to get rid of it. I cannot bring myself to get rid of it. I love that car too much. Every time I drive it, I'm just like, I can't get rid of this car. Why would I do that? But at the same time, if I sold that car and used the money to get an 8 Series, that's probably quite a good,
I think from a practical point of view, it makes sense to do that, but I understand your attachment with it because it is a nice car. I've been in it many times. I've driven it. It's very nice. It's got a very creamy.
Do you know what my real attachment is to it?
What's that?
Well, I've been looking at the prices go up on eBay recently.
Oh god, of course he has.
He's sitting there going, look at my investment accrue value.
Mm.
What are we talking then, Mike? Because if you don't mind the viewers knowing, you paid about $3,000 for that car about a year ago.
Around that mark, yeah, just shy of.
And have they gone up significantly? Are we talking like 3.5 now, 4, or?
Well, it's difficult to know because condition, mileage, all the rest of it. But you see them pretty regularly now. Because at the time when I was looking for that car, £3,000 was about right. There was loads coming up for around. I say loads. There's not really that many that come up all that often. But there was a few that were coming up for that around the sort of 3,000 mark. You might get really good ones for like 4, crappy ones for like 2. In fact, while I was looking for that one, down in like my hometown, as I was down there for something, this was all long pre-COVID. Saw like a few, saw 2 club sports actually for sale, each of which were like just over £2,000. So that was sort of, the going rate for them, that sort of level. But I regularly see them come up now for sale for sort of the 4,000 plus mark.
Interesting.
So not bad.
Yeah. And it's just reminded me, actually, on a slightly related note, but I think it is pretty much probably a year ago to roughly the day now that actually us 3 all met together as well. And I remember this probably was one of the things that cropped up in conversation, because we met up just before the lockdown was, like, I think it was a week before the lockdown was actually announced, give or take. So that's interesting. But sorry, slight divergence. So are you pretty much certain that you're not going to get rid of it because of the attachment, and therefore you're going to have the 8 Series as an addition to your fleet?
I don't know. It's how I'm going to be honest, if I could, I would, but I reckon my partner will probably tell me that that's a stupid idea.
Do you think you'll end up buying the 8 Series potentially, and then end up figure out what the situation is, and then sell the 3 Series if you need to?
Yeah,
or
for sure.
Yeah,
we'll start out. At some point, I'll probably have the 4 cars, and then Nikki will say, "Nah, you need to get rid."
I reckon what you should do is you should, at the point where she says get rid, you should then inherit a Cinquecento.
Oh God! Can you imagine? Well, actually, he won't end up with 5 cars, because if he would have bought the 8 Series, then he doesn't need the Cinquecento. But if he will end up with 4 cars potentially if he doesn't buy an 8 Series. Oh, Mike, this is not looking good for you, mate.
What you should do, mate, is at some point have your 4 cars, have your pickup, your 2 BMs, and Nikki's car, and then just one day replace all of them with Cinquecentos. Sash will loan you his just as a joke. Nikki will come home one day and go, "What? Where are all the cars? Why is it just Cinquecentos on the drive?"
Do you know what the thinking is for all of these? And this is this goes back to the buy the right car for the job. So we're actually thinking about also potentially getting an electric car, just a little one for Nikki to get to and from work, because it's like literally about 5 minutes from where we're looking at living. And the house has got like solar panels and whatnot. What's that?
Why just get a bicycle?
Because of like it's 5 minutes by a car. It's like half an hour by a bike, and it's raining and hills, and
Plus the lanes. You don't want to cycle on a lane in the dark, Rob.
You don't have an electric car in Devon. If you don't get stoned to death, like, it'll just stop working at some point.
Mike, with this electric car, sorry to interrupt, is this a replacement for what your partner's got, not an addition as well? Otherwise, it just keeps growing and growing. I
just can't get rid of cars. But no, that's sort of the reasoning behind it. Is obviously she would then have that car for getting to and from work. The 8 Series isn't a car for driving; it's a car for looking at.
Yeah.
The pickup truck would be for actual sort of daily use in and around the countryside. And then the 3 Series would be for longer journeys, motorway miles, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think, mate, you don't have to justify it to me, because you're speaking to somebody who's had 3 cars in the past himself. Not quite 4, nearly got there, but not quite.
I mean, it would only be 3 in my name, so
yeah. Right, yeah. So that's interesting. That's all exciting. And the house that you're hopefully getting, I'm guessing the driveway is enough to accommodate these vehicles.
It'll be tight, but yeah.
It would just be stockpiled. You just have to squeeze. He has to fight to get through his front door. He's like, jump over this one, climb over this one.
That's got the those racks where you put the cars on top of each other.
Of course, that's what you need to invest in, mate. So that's been a bit of a fleet. Well, in your case, a bit of a fleet update as to what's going. I'm guessing nothing particularly. I can't remember when did your issue with the Beamer's coolant? Did that happen this year? Did that happen since we last spoke?
No, that happened just before Christmas. So
right, I think we spoke.
I will say, because obviously after that, as everyone has been working from home at the minute, I think this is sort of similar to what we last spoke about, in that I wasn't really driving it too much at that point. The expansion tank exploded, as they do in old cars or old Beamers, particularly of that era. Replaced that, and then immediately after I replaced it, was just like, well, it was Christmas, and then obviously I'm working from home, so I just didn't really have any need for it.
Mm.
Basically, put the car away under a cover for about 2 or 3 months, up until about 2 weeks ago,
Right.
and then pulled the car back out and have driven it extensively since, and it's fine. Yeah, no issues.
So
So
yeah, I was going to say I can't imagine you would have used it much since we last spoke, given the circumstances.
I've
So
done a bit of driving because we had to go and do some stuff, sort of house-wise, which involves a little bit of motorway miles.
mhm.
So got up to temperature at least.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, so that's interesting. Now, Rob, since we last spoke, you've had some interesting car, um, let's call them issues. And obviously the viewers don't know what I'm about to say. But obviously you bang on about German cars being amazing, blah, blah, blah. They're absolutely fine, and I do agree with you. Right up to the moment you have to repair one. Because would you like to tell the viewers what happened with yours and how much did that end up costing you?
Short answer, no. No, I wouldn't like to tell anyone about that.
No, come on, Rob. This is the whole point of this podcast, so people don't follow and make the same mistakes that we do.
Okay, well, the first thing it needed was tires, which obviously that's a consumable. We need to replace those.
And I'd just like to, sorry, for the viewers who maybe have not listened before, this is a Golf R 2012? 13, right? So it needed some tires, consumables.
Some tires, yeah.
How
Now,
much did they set you back?
Well, see, okay, I didn't buy cheap tires because, and this is where I can see Mike's gonna wince again.
No, I'm all for buying good tires. They're the only thing.
As am I.
Okay, fine. Okay, fair enough. Well, I bought Pirelli P0s because they are actually really good. It had Contis on it when I bought it, and there's a strange rule here that basically once your tires are over 4 years old, you have to replace them irrespective of what the wear is on them. And that's to do with the high temperatures and heat cycles in the desert. Basically, you can tell like the tires actually do look like they're starting to get like small cracks in them when they're starting to get old here because it's just So I went and got Pirellis, which are actually cheaper than the Continentals, and they're a softer compound, so it now really sticks like glue when it goes around the corner. But the garage I took it to basically seemed to think that there was a problem with the clutch. And this is like an ongoing case with them now, so I can't talk about it too much. But basically, they thought there was a problem with the clutch. So they decided to bleed all the brake fluid out of my clutch and brake fluid system and top it up. Replace the brake fluids because the brake fluid obviously drives the clutch as well. And they put the wrong type of brake fluid in, which ate the seals on the clutch master and slave cylinder. Meaning that I had to replace both the clutch master and slave cylinder at cost about in pounds, getting on for £1,000 worth of damage for 20 quid's worth of brake fluid. So I've had to open a case against that tire place because obviously I didn't ask them to do that, and they just did it when their car went in for tires. And that was that's an ongoing thing. So I can't talk about it too much, but that was quite expensive. Obviously, the master cylinder is not. It's expensive parts wise. It's not too expensive to change. The slave cylinder is obviously inside between the gearbox and the engine, so obviously the gearbox has to come out. So that's quite expensive. And then there were some other minor oil leaks coming from the engine which needed fixing, which I knew about anyway from when I bought the car, but that cost about 500 quid to fix.
Right. So you're talking like probably what, including the tires, about £2,000?
Not quite that much. No, about 1.5. And I'm hoping to get some of the money back from the tire garage because of their destruction of my clutch cylinders.
Wow, I'll be interested to see. So admittedly, this wasn't a fault really with the car. It was more the people working on it who then provoked the fault, really. So if they hadn't put the wrong brake fluid in, it would have been fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I can't really rip into your car too much.
No, but it does reiterate something that I tend to harp on about. Is like using high quality fluids and, as it turns out, high quality garages. However, it is a bit of a it is a bit of a thing here. Like if people, I know people do it in the UK as well, but people tend to decide they're going to do stuff on your car and bill you for it afterwards, even though you haven't asked them to. And it's obviously much more common here than it is in the UK, because people just get probably a little bit more upset about it in the UK. But yeah, finding a garage, like if I take my car to get tires, I don't want you to interfere with my brakes. I want you to just do my tires, please. And yeah. So
yeah, no, yeah, I completely agree. And I had a not quite the same situation, but many years ago, I remember I had an issue with this is actually first year of uni. I had my Cinquecento, obviously, and one of the tires had just completely disintegrated, and I needed to, and the spare was shot anyway. So I needed to get it done quick, and the only place that was open was Quick Fit. Now, I, for one, actually loathe Quick Fit. I will never go, but I was actually desperate, right, for a change. And I was like, I'll go there. And I was like, look, just give me the cheapest tire, right, that'll go. Because I even know your cheapest will still be expensive. I was like, but I'm not paying a premium for whatever. Oh, I'm not going to put Pirelli P0s on it, but, you know, like something, you know, just give me a budget.
I can buy one Cinquecento for each of the tires.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, it turns out, I can't remember that, but basically they tried to inspect the whole vehicle and try and make out. And I was like, no, I don't want you inspecting anything. I just want you to change this tire. And they tried to and I could see how people easily get conned to it and they just leave them to it. I was like, no, just the tire, please. Turns out they didn't even have, it's a weird size in that car. It's quite small and they don't really make it. So they didn't even have a tire for me in the end, which in some respects I was quite relieved. I can't remember what I ended up doing though. I think I may have found somebody else. But point is, yeah, you're right. You know, always specify what exactly you want done and nothing else done unless they find something else, then tell them to call you. My local Saab independent garage is very, very good. And they do exactly that if I ever need anything done. So, yeah. So final point with you then, Rob. You mentioned last year, only because I re-listened, that you want to buy a 4x4. Was that a joke or are you actually serious?
Well, okay. I mean, I would quite like a 4x4. Having just moved house, money's a little bit tight because moving house actually costs money, which I didn't realize before. But yeah, there's reasons for that. Basically, there's the utility companies here all want 400 quid off you as like a deposit in case you don't pay your bill. So I've been rinsed for deposits for utility companies. So yeah, no, I'm kind of, what I've done, I think, and I think it's quite clever, is I've just tricked my girlfriend into buying one.
Oh, is this the Dacia Sandero? No, the Dacia Duster. No.
No, it's
what is it?
Nissan Xterra, which I don't know if you have in the UK.
We don't. So basically, I don't know if you can send it to Mike, but the reason why I make the Dacia Duster joke is because if you look at the side profile of that vehicle, it looks exactly the same as the side profile of a Dacia Duster.
It doesn't.
It does.
I can see what you're thinking, but it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does. Look at the side.
Like it.
No, look at the side profile of a Dacia Duster.
It's Dacia.
I've just informed it's Dacia. No, it's Dacia.
That's what they say on the adverts.
They do say that in the adverts, to be fair. They do say Dacia.
I'll just I'll drop some photos in the group chat now.
So
it's all right.
So basically, you've conned your girlfriend into buying one.
No, well, not conned. I talked her into it.
Why?
Basically, I borrowed one of the Pajeros from work one weekend and went into the desert to meet up with some friends, had a barbecue, chilled out. Because if you get to the end of the tarmac and then you have to let the tires down, drive into the dunes. And she was like, "Yeah, this is what have you just sent in the group chat, Mike?"
That is what comes up when you look for a Nissan Xterra.
I haven't got it yet. Oh,
That's
mate,
an old one.
Hang on.
It's an old one. It's been absolutely slammed to the floor.
That's brilliant.
So, looking at the photos, mate, you're packing a 4 litre underneath that thing.
It's a 4-litre V6, yeah.
Oh, only the best.
Yeah, it's yeah, I think it still produces just slightly less horsepower than the Golf.
How much torque is it producing?
I don't know what I did have. Like, it's a really tidy example actually. It's got it's not got very many miles on it, which is kind of why I was so I thought it was pretty good. But what I did notice is it has leaf springs on the back.
Lovely.
What year is it? 1956.
2015.
15, and it's got leaf springs at the rear. My Cinquecento doesn't have leaf springs, for crying out loud. That's basically a horse, and that's basically a cart.
It actually is pretty decent for its road holding. I was quite impressed.
It's not a sports car, mate. You don't need to pretend.
No. But like some of the
Really good at
4x4s
gripping
I've had
those
at work.
corners.
Some of the 4x4s I've had at work, like you turn the wheel one way and then the whole car leans in the opposite direction. And it's just it's fucking hilarious. Like you're just like woo woo, like every time you're driving somewhere. That's actually pretty decent. It's we've yet to take it into the desert though, so that'll be an interesting test for it.
Well, do you know what? I think that sort of counts. You kind of your aim, because you've got somebody else to go that you're close to. So yeah, I could. And do you know what? I don't mind it. It's not really my thing, but I don't mind it. I think it's all right.
I tell you what is nice. Speed bumps here are quite aggressive. I don't know. Mike's obviously got experience from Saudi. I think the speed bumps there are also OP. Yeah. Speed bumps here basically come halfway up the front grille of your car, because if they didn't, people would just hoon over them.
And they stretch all the way across the road as well, side to side, pavement to pavement. No way you can just straddle it.
Yeah, there's no you don't have the little bumps in the road like you have in the UK. You don't have they're not like smooth either. They're all like sharp bricked. They're basically like someone's dumped a lorry load of bricks in the road.
So it's sad, when you're going into like a car park and it's got that really, really big bump that slows everyone down, so they have to go over it super slow. Imagine that, but for every single speed bump in an entire country.
Blimey.
Or they're the ridiculously small ones that are really, really harsh. And you're like, okay, that's all right. It's a small speed bump, and you drive over it a little bit too fast, and you have to replace all your suspension.
Oh yeah, do you know what? Those are actually worse sometimes than the actual bigger ones. Like, because they kind of catch you by surprise. It's like blimey, and your spine's disintegrated.
So obviously in the Gulf, I'm always like slowing all the way down, just very, very gently going over everything. And then I got into the Xterra, and I've obviously driven that a few times, and you just sail over everything, and it's great. So for the environment, or for the locality, it's actually pretty good. And it's quite handy not to have to worry about speed bumps, or sometimes as well. What's also strange here is because they don't do the roads properly. The drain covers, you've got the drain covers. They're in like a concrete surround. Like to actually go down into the drain, they don't pour the tarmac around them properly, and the road sinks, and you don't see them then because everything around it is tarmac, and you're just driving along, and then out of nowhere, you have like a 2 or 3 inch difference between where the road's dipped down and sunk, and then you just have like hard concrete where the manhole cover is, and you can hit that with some speed and rip the arse out of your car. But if you have an Xterra, you don't have to worry about that.
So it's a car. It's a car that suits its environment, as you say. Oh, it's good. Do you know what? Fair play. I think you've done all right, or your girlfriend's done all right there. Well, actually, I've got some news. Actually, I haven't done completely nothing these past 3 months.
Just me then.
Well, probably not far off, but basically, I've got some jet fighter news. So I think I may have mentioned it to you boys, but for the listeners, I've had a couple of little things with the jet fighter. First and foremost, I don't know how it does this, because jet fighters don't really have disc brakes, as far as I'm aware. Do they? Do they have disc brakes?
As in actual jet fighters?
Yeah.
They do have brakes, yeah.
Discs?
Yeah, composite discs.
All right. Well, these composite discs, they weren't composite on mine. They're steel. But basically, I think there was a little stone that got trapped in the between the back plate and the disc. So that was making a little bit of annoying noise. But that's no problem. Sorted that out. But it started to do this really annoying thing where the alarm would just go off for no apparent reason at night. And as you can imagine, my neighbours weren't particularly happy. I wasn't, neither was my housemate. But basically, long story short, the control module in the driver's door was just basically thought it was just faulty and just thought the door was open when it wasn't, and hence sounding the alarm when it was locked. So during the few days where it was just going off non-stop, the only way I could kind of get it to shut up was by locking the car with the key. Now, slight thing from Saab stroke GM here. Saab, or GM I should say, this is definitely a GM thing, because obviously it's a left-hand drive vehicle originally, made in Sweden, or from Sweden. The key entry is on the left-hand side of the car, but they didn't swap it over for right-hand drive models. So you have to access it via the passenger door, which is kind of annoying. In some respects, you have to climb in and just lock all the doors, and only, I can't demonstrate it now, but only one of the two key fobs actually has the key in it. Now I know that's kind of common, but there was a time where I couldn't lock it because I didn't have the fob. I usually use the fob that doesn't have the key, because one of them is immaculate and one of them is less immaculate. So I use the less immaculate one to keep one immaculate. Anyway, that's just me. Yeah, bit of interesting stuff there. And then I decided that the right-hand drive wing mirror heater element wasn't working, so I decided to replace that. And literally just before we came on air, the new one arrived and I fitted it on, and I think it's working, but the true test will be when we get a bit of frost, which I'm not sure whether we will or not, but we'll find out.
You've got a few months to wait for that yet, mate.
So we'll see if it works. It's a little bit fiddly, but to get off, because you've got these little clips. Anyway, I'm sure the one listener who is still listening is really interested in this. But as I mentioned before Christmas, I was moving, and now I moved to a place that's got a garage. Now, 3 months has passed nearly. I haven't really utilised the garage as I had hoped. I haven't got a project car yet, but news is on the horizon, because I've just got informed, or recently been informed by my brother, that he has decided to buy a 1983 VW T25 camper van.
Is this his way of trying to move out of the house?
Probably, yeah. I hadn't thought of it that way. Now, for those of you, I've shown pictures to you guys already, but it's in this very 80s beigey brown colour.
It's a horrible colour, I must say.
But you know what? It suits the period.
It's definitely period correct, but it's just...
It looks like it's baby diarrhea brown.
Yeah, it is. To be honest, camper vans, and I think you guys are with me, camper vans aren't really my thing. I'm not a big VW fan. I appreciate them more now since my brother's had them, but I still would never go out and actually buy one myself. But do you know what? Part of me, when he rang me on Sunday to tell me, was really, really happy in a slightly maybe selfish way, because that means that the thing with a camper van is that it's kind of like a blank canvas in some respects, because it's not only a vehicle that you're restoring an interior in which you can potentially stay in and live in. Like, if you restore like a BMW or whatever, that's all well and good, but you're not going to live in it, are you? It's a bit
Mike's
different.
Like, hold my beer.
That's why he's buying a 330 estate soon, and we just don't know it. But yeah, I think in that respect, it's quite good. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I told him it was a terrible financial decision, but
oh yeah, Paulie.
But I respect him for it, even more for that, because I think it does take a bit of balls to sort of do that thing. I don't know what's possessed him.
Fine line between balls and stupidity.
Well, do you know what? It goes to show that obviously I've had a bad influence on him, because he's just getting, and now he in his ownership, he now has more cars than I do. He's hit the 3 mark, which
how's he at 3?
Well, he's got that Mark II Golf and the Cinquecento, his first car. So he's followed in my steps.
Well, no, he got the Cinquecento and went, "This is shit," and now to the right side of the argument.
The trouble is,
The trouble is
no, the trouble is, you're right. it is terrible, but he's like me. He doesn't want to get rid of it because it's his first car and he's grown a sentiment to it, blah, blah, blah. And his one is in a lot better nick than mine because it hasn't travelled, to another continent and back, and it's just and the sustained heat. But anyway, the point is, he doesn't want to get rid of it, and now this has caused a problem for me because my car is in my parents' garage, so now I need to get it where I live now, even in which is what I was intending to do, but even sooner because we can't have about 17 cars in where we live because otherwise people will get annoyed. Unsurprisingly, so it's but I'm looking forward to it. I think this is going to be, because I said I was going to get a project car, but I think now I may get something. I still will get something, but it doesn't necessarily have to be as project related as I thought, because I can kind of piggyback on the back of his. I don't know. We'll wait and see. No, I still want a convertible.
Piggyback on your brother's project and then just get your old car back in your garage.
No. That's not the replace. No, I still want to buy something else, okay. But it won't necessarily be a hardcore project. If that makes sense.
There's some really wild stuff when you've been sort of messaging us recently. You were looking at cars that were, needing complete full restorations from the ground up. That's definitely the deep end.
I feel lockdown had inspired some optimism.
The thing is, if you'd have bought yourself a project car before lockdown, you'd have had hours of fun in your garage tinkering with it.
Yeah, I know.
Things. You should have just bitten the bullet, bought something, got it in your garage. You should have just bought an old Vespa or something just to occupy your mind.
I was thinking motorbikes potentially, but then I don't know. Yeah, you're right. I should have, could have, would have. Yeah, I know. The trouble is, we've had some cold months in the UK as well, and it's going to sound like a terrible excuse, but obviously it's bloody cold in that garage when it's like -2 outside because there's no heat. I mean, there's electricity and there's a little heater, but I have tried that, and that doesn't exactly inspire much warmth. So I'd be bloody. Yeah, you're right.
I missed the cold.
Sorry,
just thinking out loud.
I don't. So yeah, that's kind of the update on my situation, really. So I suppose the sort of final point in which we can kind of end this on is, obviously we're nearly a quarter of the way through 2021. We haven't really done a lot. Sorry.
Expected.
No, yeah. But for the remaining 3 quarters of the year, what do we, now that we know what we know, what do we intend of doing? And let's try and be realistic with our expectations. So Mike, I'll start with you since we started with you first.
Okay, well, if we're going to be realistic, what I'm going to do is stare at cars online and not buy them.
This is what my brother slated me for the other day. He's like, I don't know, I actually go out and buy them. Unlike you, just stares at them all day and on Auto Trader or whatever.
Well, mine unfortunately it's because I'm in this limbo with, like Rob said, house moves cost money, and the final figure hasn't come round yet. So until I know that, I can't actually buy anything, basically.
Have you got any idea as to when it might happen?
Literally,
no.
The issue with UK house moving, literally zero idea, like nothing at all.
Right. Oh, that's annoying. But so you're saying then that if there is a possibility that if the house move doesn't go ahead in swift time, meaning that you won't buy your 8 Series, meaning that you will end up with a Fiat Cinquecento?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, that's just insult to injury. If the whole house all falls through, I haven't moved out and all the rest of it, and then you just turn up with a Fiat Cinquecento.
and what he doesn't know is the reason why I'm actually doing it is because it does me a favour and frees up the space in my garage so I can actually buy something else. It's all part of the plan. Okay, jokes. So that's the intention, is to, I suppose for you, move. Probably the big one, and then buy an 8 Series.
Yeah.
Number
and then
2.
maybe a pickup truck.
And then a pickup truck. Okay, fair enough. That sounds realistic. Rob, what about? No, I genuinely meant that. Because the way things are looking at the moment is that I think we kind of naively thought that we might actually be able to do some travelling abroad. Now, I think that's still up in the air, but I definitely don't think within the first 2/3 of this year, if not 3/4, I don't think we're really going to be going anywhere outside the UK realistically.
I think you guys should be planning for your November trip to the UAE. Because that's when the temperature will be good. There's a decent chance by then you'll be able to travel.
Nah.
Flights will be cheap.
I don't know. It's really one of those things that you just got to have to play it by ear.
Yeah.
It's just. I think there is a possibility.
2021, to be honest.
Right off.
I mean, I managed to get back to the UK twice last year, even though it was lockdown, this nonsense, that blah 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 blah. Everyone's sort of wishy-washy.
But the point is, when you got here, you couldn't do anything.
No, I was only there 5 days.
Yeah,
I only really came to see my nephew.
Well, yeah, but yeah, no. I mean, if the opportunity arises, obviously, yes, we will be there. Because I just kind of thought that we might be able to do something, but I don't know. We're going to have to play that by ear. Maybe we have to do something, but maybe it might have to be UK based. I don't know, and it depends if you can come over, Rob, if you are. So I suppose that's one thing. What about you, Rob? Then, so obviously you've got a functioning car now.
Yes, yeah. Well, this is also news, but I was going to sort of avoid talking about it. I rather embarrassingly backed into another car coming out my driveway and damaged the bumper, so I need to get that resprayed. And the fuel filler cap came off in my hand after trying to close the filler cap. It just, because of weight saving, they made the fuel filler cap plastic, whereas on the GTI and the other ones they're not plastic. So it basically just snapped. So now I have no fuel filler cap.
This is all your Golf, right?
Yeah.
So your Golf currently is just like an absolute heap of crap, just pieces falling off of it left and right.
It doesn't look great at the moment, right?
Did you park it next to an Alfa Romeo or something? Like, is it just giving it Alpharitis? Because that's what happened with your car when you parked it next to my Alfa. It just started deteriorating for some reason. It was like
plague. What's really frustrating is that I've got a balcony here in my new apartment, and there's like some villas that are part of the same development. And from my balcony, I can see somebody who has the same year, same model car as mine in mint condition. it's even the same color. And I look at it every day and I hear them leaving and I'm like, oh, their filler cap's on and they haven't backed into something. Oh.
Having said that, though, those two things can be easily rectified. They might not necessarily be very cheap. Like the respray probably won't be that cheap, but they can be easily rectified.
150 quid.
Oh, that's not bad
for the whole bumper.
Well, why haven't you done it though yet?
Because I'm waiting to financially recover from moving.
Oh, right, fair enough.
When I have financially recovered from moving, there's a couple of like that needs to be done, and there's probably some other little bits like just general maintenance thing on the Golf that needs doing. Things that aren't urgent but do need doing eventually. And I just was thinking actually, just as you were talking about it, I might have a look at getting a motorbike.
Oh God! Right. So
Mike, both of you are just like, why?
No, Mike likes motorbikes anyway.
I don't know what you're complaining about, Sash. You said you were going to buy one as well.
No, but not to ride. Not to ride, just more to just like restore or something like that. I don't really have an interest in motorbike riding.
Just definitely get an old Vespa. I think you rocking up at GSK to rocking up to work on an old Vespa with your open face helmet in the summer.
Well, that's why.
We're going to pasta for lunch.
Well, do you know what? When I was 16/17, I had two Vespas actually. One was terrible, and then I bought another one, and then that worked. And I had an open faced helmet, and it wasn't an early one. It was like 1999, and it had the sort of metal bars around it. I don't know how you describe it, like the sort of Lambretta style, sort of like not the mirrors, not the millions of mirrors that you can't see where you're going, but it had this really cool, and it had a little back box as well that you can put your helmet in, and your bike lock and stuff like that. I absolutely loved that bike. That was great, and it was the mistake I made is I bought the first time, knew nothing about motorbikes. I bought a 4-stroke moped, which for reference, never buy, because it's the slowest thing in the world, right? It had a top speed of 28, and that wasn't because it was restricted. I mean, it was, but it was just so slow. So then I bought a 2-stroke one afterwards, and that thing felt like a Bugatti Veyron in comparison. I could hit 45 in that.
This is the thing. You speak fondly of your time on mopeds, and then you're just like, no, I'm not buying a motorbike. I think if you bit the bullet and went and got your motorbike license and then got into it, I think you'd really enjoy it. And I think that's part of where all your hostility comes from, is you know that you'd enjoy it and you don't want to commit to having something in your life that you'd enjoy.
No, it's not.
You just
You know
want
what?
pain and suffering from shitty Italian cars on your driveway.
No,
You want
it's
to wake
not.
up every morning and look at some rust and go, my driveway is landfill.
What you're saying makes sense, because having a motorbike, motorbikes are generally cheaper to buy, cheaper to run, easier to store. You're more likely to be killed, but it makes sense. I don't know. For me, motorbikes, the majority, I know they don't all look the same, but for me, they're like fridge freezers a little bit. I don't care about the models. I like Vespas, but Vespas aren't really motorbikes, are they? They're little mopeds that you go prancing around in the Isle of Capri in Italy or whatever, and buy a watermelon and have a nice blonde behind you. You don't actually do it. You don't do it to commute or anything, or if you just do it because you look cool doing it. You don't do it for any other reason, right? At least in Italy, this is.
Most people who ride motorbikes don't do it for any other reason than they look cool doing it.
Yeah, but you don't look cool riding a motorbike, though, do you? With all your levers. No, you don't. And
You
imagine
get like jeans, Kevlar reinforced jeans, and a nice biker jacket.
The problem is, Mike's got the hair for it now, so he might actually look all right. Rob, you'd make any motorbike look tiny, right? Because you're about 8 foot, right?
Oh, I need to get a big one.
Yeah, you need to don't get a Vespa or anything like that. It'll look piddly on you. Like,
I could get one for each foot. Be like rollerblading.
Now I'm thinking about it. Maybe I should get a motorbike. No, I'm not thinking about it. But anyway, so
Has your mate never given you a ride on his Triumph?
no, I'm not really I don't think I'd be a big fan of being a pillion passenger. I'm not gonna lie. I think I'd brick myself. It's just.
It's not that you just ride it.
I don't want to ride it, to be honest. The bike is massive. It's a speed triple. It's huge, that thing. It's so fucking heavy as well. Excuse my language, but it's just so. I don't want to drop that. Can you imagine?
I remember when I sat on it and Max was like, "That's quite annoying because it actually fits you properly."
Yeah. So anyway, I think we come to the conclusion that I don't really know what I'm doing yet. So when I do, I'll let you guys know. And I think what we should do is maybe we'll make this not as frequently as what we used to, because the viewers aren't really asking for it at the moment. Not that that's a reason not to, but what I'm planning on doing is, once this camper van starts to happen, I will start to make low rent videos again.
In the camper van?
No, part of the restoration.
You're going to try and put these up project on low rent porn sites as well?
No, not yet. No, I haven't quite made it to that grade. So they might.
Said low rent videos. I thought that's what you were talking about.
Oh,
you're going to grow a big mustache.
Yeah, might do. So I think let's call it there, chaps, because I don't know how long we've been going for. But anyway, to the half listener that's listening, thank you for listening. I think join us next time, whenever that may be. And actually, hopefully, I'll get to see you guys maybe at some point in the year. Maybe not. I don't know about you, Rob, but we'll see. Let's see if Boris allows it. Mike, hopefully I might be able to see you in the summer or something if Boris allows. I don't know.
So, Sash, hopefully so.
That'd be nice, and you can pick me up in your 8 Series. Actually, just a final thing for the viewers. You're looking at V8 models, aren't you? Not V12s.
No comment.
No comment. Auto or manual?
Well, you can't. There's like 3 manuals in the UK, and they're all like mint condition, super expensive. So it's an auto. Realistically speaking, it's going to be the 4.4 V8 in auto. But did I send you that Alpina?
Yeah, you did.
Weeks back. Yeah. So if something like that came up and I deemed it appropriate, then yes, I would get a V12. But realistically speaking, it's going to be the V8.
Mate, if you get a V12, bloody hell.
No, it's not going to happen. They come up so rarely, and when they do come up, they're quite expensive. So
You'd also need to remortgage your new house just to afford fuel for it.
yeah, I mean, yeah.
Did you say that, sorry, slight tangent here, but did you say that the V12s in this country are worth more money, but in places like Abu Dhabi and stuff like that, or Far East, it's the other way around, the V8s are worth more than V12s?
Yeah, I mean, it was when I was looking up stuff online, and I was just basically seeing what the kind of difference was and what people thought between the V12 and the V8. And I was looking on some forums and that, and a lot of them were American forums, and they were saying that if you want to get the V8, that's the one to get now because they're a lot rarer in America because the V12s were bought a lot more because obviously Americans didn't care how much the fuel cost and they all wanted the additional power that came with the V12. Whereas it was a complete
power.
Yeah, it was a complete flip of that in the UK where people were more worried about the fuel cost and would rather just have the V8 because for UK roads that's absolutely fine.
What year are you looking at?
What's that?
What year are you looking at?
I think the 4.4 came in what, like 1993, something like that. I think
This is what I was going to ask, because did it start off with a 4 litre in life and then it went to 4.4?
It did, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying no to one of them either. To be honest, I'll take what I can get.
Yeah.
Out of interest, what is the kind of price point that you're looking at for an 8 Series?
Literally anywhere between 7 and 30, depending on mileage and condition.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm not looking at that price bracket at all. I'm looking down the bottom end of that, but
yeah,
I would imagine so. Yeah. But okay, that's interesting. I'm just looking through 8 Series I can find online in Dubai now.
are there many?
Of the new type, yeah, there's loads.
No, but you can get this is what I find criminal. You can get the new 8 Series with a diesel, and that for me is absolutely criminal. It makes so much sense nowadays because I met somebody who had the 840 and there's a little D on the end of it, and I was like, "That's a diesel," and he was like, "Yeah, it is," and I'm like, he's like, it makes so much sense though because it's so powerful and economical that it's the perfect long distance cruiser. Because it's like you never have to fill up really. So he's like, you can drive from like here to Scotland or whatever and not even have to bother filling up. And he was like, it's just or something like that. But anyway, so you won't be doing that in your V12, Mike, I'm afraid. But
they're all about 10 grand, the ones I can find here, and they're all V12s.
Autos, I'm guessing.
Autos, yeah, autos.
Yeah.
Because you could get the V12 in a manual, which is what I find interesting.
It's super rare though.
Yeah,
the clutch on that will be heavier than Somalia's national debt.
You're right, it would be. But a V12 manual, that is like the epitome of petrol headism, isn't it? Really?
You know when you take the mickey out of people that have that clearly skip leg day at the gym, you'll just look really weird because your left leg will be huge and your right leg won't.
Anyway.
Just be pumped with the clutch all day.
Yeah. Well, so we'll end it there. As I said about 5 minutes ago, we'll actually end it there. We'll play some outro music. Thank you very much for joining us, chaps. And then, Mike, you can just stop the recording.